It's noon in Kiev. This is our time. The main news at this hour. In the studio, Valerie Klemenko. Hello. Since early morning, explosions have been heard in several regions of Ukraine. In Sumy, as a result of a Russian attack, there has been a partial power outage. In just one day, the aggressors shelled the region 99 times. More than 40 settlements came under fire. An energy facility was damaged, as well as residential buildings and cars. This is Russia's deliberate strategy. President of Ukraine Volodymyr Zelenskyy commented on the massive Russian shelling that took place overnight. 9 regions were hit, with dozens wounded and fatalities reported. The aggressor targeted infrastructure, residential areas, and civilian enterprises. In Dnipro, a missile with cluster munitions directly hit a multi-story building.
This is not a military necessity, but a deliberate Russian strategy to intimidate civilians and destroy our infrastructure. That is why a strong international response is needed. Ukraine has proven that it can defend itself in Europe. But to ensure reliable protection, we must act together. Strengthen air defense, increase arms supplies, and expand sanctions against the Russian war machine and the sectors that finance it. Every restriction on Russia means lives saved. Thank you to everyone who helps and supports us. Volodymyr Zelenskyy, President of Ukraine, Telegram.
The number of people injured in Dnipro as a result of Russia's massive air attack is rising. During the night, the aggressor launched attack drones and missiles at the region. Residential buildings were damaged. Let's now ask our correspondent, Natalia Husek, about the consequences of the attack. Natalia, hello. The floor is yours.
Hello. Right now, we are standing right next to the building where, early this morning, around 6 a.m., a Russian missile exploded. You can see that there is a lot of activity here right now. Rescuers are still going from apartment to apartment. No one is being allowed inside, not even residents, because there is a risk that the structures inside the apartments could collapse. The number of victims at this moment. I apologize. The number of injured at this moment is 26 people, 14 of whom are in the hospital. The most serious case is a 55-year-old man who has burns on about 70% of his body. Another person died there, right in his own apartment, in the building entrance behind me. I want to say that while we were walking to the filming location, which is actually very close to where I live, just about 400 to 500 meters from the road, we were picking up these little cubes, about a centimeter on each side. These are the shrapnel fragments that literally filled the Russian missile that struck the residential area of Dnipro today. I suggest we watch how the local residents experienced this moment. They'll tell us themselves.
The 15th explosion was shrapnel, and I started at the 17th. Then there was a ballistic one from the wing, then cruise missiles, and the last missile exploded right here. So that's the kind of emergency we had in our neighborhood. You can see the cluster munitions, all over the area. The school got hit, it burned, and 3 apartments caught fire. The explosion wasn't on the ground, but somewhere up in the air. And the submunition scatter, like cluster munitions. And then they explode in different spots, because even at the school, way over there, the windows were shaking. So what was it here? Autumn and Shahid drones. No, not Shahid, it was missiles.
We just woke up from a really loud noise, some kind of flash, and I didn't even realize the window frame was lying on the blanket. Well, we were covered, the glass and the frame, everything was on top of us. We just jumped up like that. Everything was cracking. I thought the ceiling was about to collapse. We ran out with rustling over the broken glass. It was just a nightmare. We were so shocked that I'm still here, honestly. It hit the 6th floor, caught fire, and by the time we got out, the 6th floor was burning. Then it spread to ours, the 5th floor, the balcony caught fire, and, thankfully, our things are still intact, according to firefighters.
The combined attack on Dnipro lasted almost 5 hours. First, there were shahids. They exploded one after another. It all started around 1:30 in the morning. And closer to 6 in the morning, ballistic and cruise missiles started hitting the city. Several missiles struck Pavlograd. As a result of this strike in Dnipro, it is already known that more than 24 apartment buildings have been damaged. The list of damaged buildings includes kindergartens and schools, dormitories and educational institutions. The trolleybus depot was also damaged, and there are power line outages. In fact, the damage is really extensive. Right now, there are a lot of people standing in line to file a report. By my subjective estimate, that's at least 500 people. A lot of people are working on site right now, helping out. They're helping with building materials and boarding up windows. And, in general, the city is gradually coping with this missile attack. Many people say the most important thing is that we survived, and we can overcome and get through everything else.
Natalia, thank you so much for this update. Our correspondent Natalia Gusek was on the line from Dnipro. She reported on the aftermath of Russia's overnight attack on the city. Overnight, Russia carried out a massive combined strike on Ukraine using drones and various types of missiles. According to the Ukrainian armed forces, the aggressor attacked simultaneously with a large number of missiles and drones. According to preliminary data, Ukrainian air defense shot down or suppressed more than 100 drones, 2 ballistic missiles, and 39 cruise missiles. Last night, Ukraine's defense forces struck key oil refining infrastructure in Russia. Drone units hit the Saratov and Novokudishevsk oil refineries. The information was confirmed by the General Staff of the Armed Forces of Ukraine. Transport infrastructure facilities in the Samara region were also damaged. Explosions and large-scale fires were reported at the sites. All these enterprises were working to supply the Russian army. Putin wants to restore the Russian Empire. This was stated in an interview with Telegram by U.S. Presidential Special Representative Keith Kellogg. According to him, Trump is trying to give diplomacy every chance. He quickly realized that stopping this war is harder than expected.
Ukraine is ready to make a deal, but Putin is not. He thinks he's winning this war, but that's not the case. That's why Trump is simply giving him the freedom to act in time to come to the negotiating table. But the cards are still in our hands. Trump is not bargaining with Ukrainian land. That's Zelensky's mandate. No one else has the right to decide this. Keith Kellogg, special representative of a U.S. president, from a publication in the Telegraph.
China's leader Xi Jinping is determined to bring the war in Ukraine to an end and is ready to help make that happen. This was stated by U.S. President Donald Trump. He expressed hope for a successful end to the war and noted that Xi Jinping would participate in the peace process. According to Trump, in a personal conversation with the Chinese leader, Xi confirmed his willingness to cooperate with the U.S. to achieve peace in Ukraine.
President Xi and I talked about this, and I believe he also really wants to see it done. I think he will cooperate with us to help with this.
European Commissioner for Defense and Space Andrius Kubilius plans to hold talks with the defense ministers of EU member states on creating a drone wall on the eastern border of the EU. This was reported by Reuters. This idea was discussed even before Russian drones invaded Polish airspace in early September. But the Federation's attack exposed clear gaps in NATO countries' defenses, and now the initiative has become even more relevant. Larissa Patruk will tell you more about it.
Ukraine must be present at the negotiating table when discussing the concept of the European drone wall, says the head of the Office of the President of Ukraine, Andriy Yermak.
We are the only country in Europe fighting a modern war against Russia. Since World War II and the Cold War, the principles of warfare have changed, and in recent years, drones have played a key role. That's exactly why armies need to change as well. We need to focus on artificial intelligence, which will be used in UAVs, both strike and anti-aircraft. Andriy Yermak, head of the Office of the President of Ukraine, on Telegram.
Russia is capable of launching up to 800 strike drones in a single night. In response, Ukraine can deploy at least 1,000 interceptor drones to repel attacks, according to Defense Minister Denis Shmyhal. Moreover, Kiev is ready to help its neighbors fend off attacks from the aggressor. To protect the skies, Ukraine and Poland will create a joint task force for unmanned aerial systems. The relevant document was signed in Kiev by the defense ministers of both countries. The Polish-Ukrainian group will include representatives of the armed forces of both countries. Its work will serve as a platform for coordinating and developing joint initiatives in the field of UAVs. Kiev will share software products and real combat experience with Warsaw. There are also plans to expand joint projects for weapons production.
We have agreed on a number of important steps. The first of them, the creation of a joint operational group on unmanned aerial systems, which will be headed by representatives of the armed forces of Ukraine and Poland. This group will serve as a platform for coordinating and developing joint initiatives. We will integrate the latest defense technologies and launch new projects aimed at strengthening the protection of our people and critical infrastructure. The central element of this group's work will be joint training programs, which I am confident will strengthen our ability to resist our common enemy.
This is a serious challenge, a great opportunity for all of Europe, because it's not just about Poland. We are also negotiating with the European Commission. I spoke with Commissioner Kubilius about measures that the European Union could take together with other countries on the eastern flank. After all, this concerns the entire eastern flank of the European Union and the North Atlantic Alliance. We are talking about training engineers and soldiers who will stand up to the aggressor and defend the airspace.
The head of the European Council is also calling for strengthening Europe's defense. Antonio Costa has invited the leaders of EU countries to an informal meeting in Copenhagen on October 1st. The main topics of discussion will be protecting Europe from Russian threats, increasing support for Ukraine, and tightening sanctions pressure on the aggressor country.
Our security is inextricably linked to the security of Ukraine. In Copenhagen, I would also like to discuss how we can further support Kiev and achieve a just and lasting peace. To this end, we must, in particular, consider how to continue supporting the Ukrainian armed forces as the main guarantee of the country's sovereignty and security, while simultaneously increasing pressure on Russia, including by tightening sanctions. Antonio Costa, President of the European Council, from a statement on the European Council website.
The head of the European Council also noted that in recent months, allies have moved closer to increasing defense funding and supporting their own defense industrial complex. Costa emphasized that now every euro must work to strengthen our collective security.
Subscribe to The Gaze and stay updated on the most important events, top news from Ukraine and all over the world, in-depth analysis, exclusive reports and interviews, all on hand in our channel. Join our community of viewers and stay tuned.